So welcome back. In this session, we're going to be talking about an interface. We said there are two ways of achieving abstraction. One is to use an abstract class, and the second one is to use the other option is to use an interface, right? So we've seen the abstract class in action. So let's see how this works as well. Let's go ahead and create an interface. We just right click here and say add a new item, and then this time around we had an interface, right? We had an interface. So here I'm going to write, so let's say I want to declare the name of this interface to be teach. So a good practice, or the best practice, is to start an interface name with an I. So this would help you being a developer. So even by just a sight of the interface, you know that it's an interface by its name. You know that it's an interface, and whoever is going to be maintaining the code, won't have a hard time maintaining the code. So the best practice is to have it as start with an I, but if you don't put it, nothing spoil. It's just like that. So this is how we create an interface, and you can see it's created by just the interface keyword, and you have the name of the interface. All right. So now let's have some members. Let's create some members of the interface. So let's say we create this member, just like you got carried away and you think you're still using a class. So you say you have int uh, you say int age is equals to, or you just declare it as int age, whatever it is, like this. So an interface cannot have an instance field like this. That's why you can see it's highlighted as red is an error. So if you mouse over, it's going to tell you interface cannot contain an instance field. That's one thing that you need to know under an interface. An interface cannot contain an instance field. And then let's say that we instead of creating that, we want to create a method. An interface can contain properties, property members, and then it can contain methods, method signature that would then be implemented you know by a derived class. So an interface is meant to be implemented, right? So here, let's say we have int, and then there we have get age as a method name. Get age like this. So by default, interface members are public and abstract. By default, interface members are public and what? And abstract. So what we mean is that we don't have to declare the body of this. So the class that is implementing this interface will be the one that will declare this body here. All right, so this is an example of a method member of an interface. So let's say I have another one. So let's say, just for us to so let's say I have another one called, let's say, string. So that's, of course, this is a return type, so we don't have to do public. I said that we don't have to do. So if you do this, it works pretty much the same way, because by default it's public anyway. And I don't have to come here and say an abstract, you understand, because by default it's also an abstract. So here, let's say I declare this as a return type string, and I say hello. Yeah, so I say hello to name. Say hello to name, something like this. Say hello to this name. All right. So now if I go inside my let's say we create a class. Let's say we create a class, add a new item, So this one is a class, and then this class is called teach, which is created in mind that is going to implement I teach. So if we do this, so we have this teach, then you have the same way we were deriving from, a base class is we just use a colon, and then we say I teach, I teach like this. So what we've got here is that the this teach class is implementing I teach. Now what you get there is that you see an error. You can see this one, so you can see that it's throwing an error. So interface is seen as a contract, is a contract. So for every struct or every class that implement that interface must implement all the member of that interface. So, and that's why the reason this is showing an error is because the members, this guy has a member. If you right click, if you hold your control key and click on that, you're going to see what we have here. This guy is a member. I get age and say hello, and then the teach, which is implementing the I teach, is not implementing any of his member. So he has to implement only his member, all the members of that interface, because it's a contract that is binding. Okay, so now if you go ahead and ask, make it write it for you, instead of you're lazy, and instead of it to do it yourself, you want this guy to, so you say implement all member explicitly. So if you click on that, it's going to help you out, and then you can see that here you have so he's saying implement all member explicitly. So let's say I don't want to have it explicitly, and then like this, you can see a difference in the two. Look at it again. If you do an undo, and then you have a explicit implementation like this, you can see is we're having to mention the interface name each time we want to implement any of his members. So this one dot this one dot that. So there may be, as time goes on, there are reasons you want to use this kind of explicit implementation. But for now, it's not clean. It's not clean. This guy is here. We can just do an implicit implementation of that. But let's say we have another interface named I teach. So we want to point to this teach, which particular one we are talking about. So let's say we have multiple I teach. You understand? So we want to say, okay, which particular one are we talking about? And then let's say we have multiple implementation within this class, and this is when that's an example of a use case for an explicit information implementation. But that's not what we want. I'm just gonna ask it to, okay, yeah, give me that your option again, and just say this. So by the time we do that, this is an implementation for each of the member. But what you can see here is a thrown exemption. The exemption, just like we saw while we're doing Amazon class, is this is just scaffolded, and so there's not an error will not be thrown. Otherwise, if you don't put anything here, there will be an error. There will be an error, because at least this should return an integer. This is expected to return an integer. But then, if you have not written the code block, you've not written a logic within that this block, you can just use this throw new exception. This will only throw an exception when this is being used. Right? But if it's not used, application builds normally, and everything works fine. Okay. So here, let's say here you have like a return a certain age, 85, and then say hello. Here you say return, you say return hello, and then we say that person that we are saying hello to. So hello name, hello name. So let's say we have something like this, hello name, something like this. So this is an implementation of that method. So if you save this, you can. So let's go now to the program. So the program dot C sharp. So if you come in here, let's say we just want to see how that played out, and yeah. So just to also note, let's say you forgot and you say I teach is equals teach is equals to new I teach. So you, let's say you are trying to create it like as if you the same way you treat a class. So you see an error. What this error is telling us is that you cannot create an object from, you cannot instantiate that an interface. You cannot create an object from it. You cannot create an object from an interface. So pretty much the same way you can't do that with an abstract class. Because by internally, interface is completely behaves like an abstract class, right? So this is not correct. You can have something like this. You can create an object from it. You can create an object from it, but this is valid. This is valid. This is how you create a field element for this. So this one here is actually representing this, right? So, but this is not what I want to instantiate. What I want to instantiate is actually the teach. So let's say we have teach, which is a class, and then teach equals to new teach. So let's say we have something like this, and then down here we have string greetings. String greetings equals to teach dot say hello, and then here I say hello to Alex. So you know that say hello is expecting a variable as a name, right? So if we do this and then we do say like we have a console dot write line, then here we will put in the greetings like this. All right, so all is done, no error, no issue. So if you run that, you see how that works out. So you can see hello Alex. So this is a bit of this thing. So another question you might ask is that, okay, why would you use an interface instead of a class? So an interface is used to abstract details, so that some of the details are not seen. You're exposing is just the abstract is summary. For instance, now instead of me to actually come in here and instantiate this, I've actually just use it as an I, like this, and then not use this like that, and then expose what you have here that way, but that this is not what I um, want to do. All right, so let's have it this way. So one of the reasons you want to use your this thing is for security, and then the abstraction, because what you're exposing is just a bit. All right, and then it's when a class when a class is inheriting from a base class, you can only inherit from one single class. But it's possible for you to, implement multiple interface. What I mean is that, we have an I teach here. So let's say we have uh, another interface, and then let's say that interface is called iLearn. Okay, iLearn.cs. Now, so it's possible for this guy, where is it again? This teach to have to implement this interface and then implement iLearn as well. iLearn as well. You understand? This is multiple interface. But if it's a class, a class, look at what we have here. This class inheriting from a person. Let's say we also want it to inherit from admin. You have something like this. You can see it's an error. And what you see here is student cannot have multiple base classes. But it's possible for you to have multiple, interfaces. So if you want to do that, you know that if at some point in your logic you would want to, implement or implement multiple, classes, then you are going to have to define that as, as an interface. So this is a bit of interface.